Over half of all suicide deaths in the U.S. occur with a firearm. A Kentucky lawmaker has a plan to put some distance between a person at risk and the lethal means to take their lives. State Representative Lisa Willner is filing legislation that would have the state create what's called the Kentucky Voluntary Do Not Sell Firearms List for those 18 and older who are otherwise not barred from owning a firearm. Their names would then be added to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. She talked with us yesterday about the bill that's modeled after a Virginia law.
The bill would create a list that would be voluntary. No one would be coerced into signing on to this list. If someone knows that they're having suicidal thoughts, suicidal impulses, that they could put themselves on a list that they could not be sold a firearm. And I'll tell you, Renee, when I talk to folks in my community, people are very, very concerned about the mental health crisis that we're experiencing right now. People are very concerned about gun violence. And what I think a lot of people don't know is that gun fatality is, while it's very high in Kentucky, well over half of gun fatalities are death by suicide.
Mm-hmm. You are a licensed psychologist, and I know you've been director of the Kentucky Psychological Association. So did you consult with other mental health professionals to come up with this idea, or how did you arrive that maybe this is a good starting point for the conversation, and making it voluntarily or voluntary might make it more politically palatable?
Absolutely. So actually, the state of Virginia has passed a similar bill into law. It's the law in Virginia. Other states, other municipalities have discussed it. And I am in frequent contact with folks in the mental health community, mental health advocates, as well as other professionals. And there really is a lot of concern about suicidality always, but that it seems to be on the rise. So this was, taking an idea from another state that has been put into law and adapting it for Kentucky's purposes, and in consultation with suicide prevention experts, in consultation with other mental health professionals, we felt like this would be a very good, positive approach for saving lives.
What would be the argument for why this is not the direction Kentucky should go?
And we see this across the nation, that states that have the most lenient gun laws, that get rid of restrictions, that get rid of common sense gun regulations, have high fatality for both suicide and homicide, and Kentucky is certainly in that state. So I think for some, the idea of talking about any limitations on gun ownership, even if it's temporary, could be problematic, can create anxiety. But I want to emphasize, again, this is completely voluntary. We're not talking about anyone taking away anyone's guns. And it's a reversible decision. If a person were to place him or herself on this list, 21 days later, they can have themselves removed from the list. So honestly, you talk about a no-brainer. We can sit here and imagine reasons why people might oppose this, but I think as people understand what the legislation would do, and especially what it would not do, I think we can come to some good bipartisan agreement on this issue.
Representative Willner's bill would also make it a crime to falsely try to add or remove another person from the registry, and it creates protections for those who add their names to the no firearms list from being discriminated against in employment, housing, health care, and education.